What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Craftavore Tastes. As always, I'm your host, Max. And today, we got a pretty interesting little review, one that I was kind of excited to do. It is a accessible beer. It is a beer that is available on shelves in every single liquor store or beer store or wherever it is that you buy beer across the country. And today we're actually going to be diving in and reviewing Sierra Nevada's newest IPA release called Hazy Little Thing. So by the name, you can obviously tell that it is Sierra Nevada's take on a New England style hazy IPA. So I was super interested just to pick this one up only because if you are into the haze craze and really love New England style IPAs, one of the things that you'll know is that they obviously are very difficult to come by, right? Like there really aren't any shelf New England style IPAs that I can think of. Maybe No Filter by Thomas Hooker, or even Too Juicy by Two Roads. But by and large, you're going to be waiting on lines. It's limited availability at breweries, etc. So the idea that kind of like an old school OG brewery would go ahead and make a hazy New England style IPA, make it super accessible, have massive distribution, and have it be relatively inexpensive. I think the 6-pack was $9.99. Got me interested. So let's dive right into this. So Hazy Little Thing comes in at 6.7% ABV, so right in that wheelhouse of a New England style IPA. It is brewed with Citra, Comet, Simcoe, Eldorado, and Mosaic. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to pop a top on this bad boy. Let's go ahead and get a look at the aroma. We'll then obviously, the appearance first, then aroma. Then we'll get obviously a taste, and then we'll go ahead and rate it. So let's go ahead and open this guy up. One other thing that I did want to mention as I'm pouring this beautiful look out, let's take a peek at it. Another thing that I did want to mention is the canning date on this beer from Sierra Nevada. This beer was canned on December 13th. It is now January 18th. If you know anything about Sierra Nevada beers, the idea that they could get a beer out distributed across the country just a little bit over a month old is pretty astonishing. Oftentimes, you won't see Sierra Nevada beers, obviously on shelves 5 months old. And obviously, everybody's super familiar about often the issues that they had with their beer camp packs. So the idea that they could actually get this beer out in a month old, so a month old Sierra Nevada beer to me is like picking it up at the brewery that day, to be perfectly honest with you. So distribution things that I think people were probably a little worried about as it relates to New England IPAs, a month old, not bad. So far, so good. Let's take a look at the appearance of this beer. So, beer actually looks beautiful. Typical kind of New England style IPA. Not super hazy. Obviously, not total full on kind of OJ, but it's got that traditional looking haze. Nice to medium gold color looking. So far, so good. The beer looks actually beautiful in a glass. So let's go ahead and get ourselves a little bit of an aroma on it. Huh. That's a little wild. Wild in the sense that I don't smell anything. I'm getting a hint of a nose of that traditional kind of Sierra Nevada yeast. I'm pretty sure, just based on the way that's smelling, that they've just used their house yeast with this beer. But yeah, wow. Certainly nothing along the lines of what you would normally consider of a New England style IPA, right? Where so many of those beers are obviously double dry hop, triple I hop, triple dry hopped, etc. Most of those beers, obviously, just the explosion of aroma is so powerful. This is, I'm struggling to honestly get any discernible nose out of this. Maybe a little bit of lemony notes, but I'm just getting a lot of that kind of traditional Sierra Nevada yeast actually coming out of the nose. Yeah, now maybe slight bits of a little bit of citrus, maybe sweet pineapple, just little. Not a whole lot in terms of aroma. Well, all right, so let's go ahead and give her a taste. Cheers. Yeah. Huh. Well, that's kind of disappointing. So the taste kind of follows through with the nose. Not a tremendous amount of discernible flavors. Again, maybe a little bit of lemon. Maybe a slight touch of pineapple. Frankly, it's very muted and very bland. Yeah, there's just not really a lot going on there. It's crushable for 6.7%. So, I mean, ultimately, in the end, I really don't get a tremendous amount of alcohol off that at all. I think there'd be a little bit of residual sweetness kind of going on at that ABV, but I'm not even getting that, to be perfectly honest. It's just, oh. By no means is it a bad beer. I mean, ultimately in the end, I mean, it's actually it's crushable for the ABV. I can actually see myself kind of sitting back and kind of, knocking a few back. But I mean, given the fact that it's advertising itself as it is, as a New England style IPA, I don't really honestly think that there's much outside of maybe the look of the beer itself that kind of aligns itself to a hazy IPA. I'll be perfectly honest. And to be even further honest, that Sierra Nevada traditional yeast is just kind of a miss here. It just seems misplaced. It doesn't seem to really go together. So while I was excited for this beer, the one little thing in the back of my head that made me a little bit nervous, which was, here's an OG brewery, obviously jumping in on a trend, that's super important in craft beer these days that a lot of people are looking for. But it's very, very clear that from just what I can tell, they didn't really want to go all in, right? It's somewhat got the look, but there's really nothing else on the back end that would ever make this a New England style IPA. And so the idea maybe that I would say is, if you're not going to go in on these beers or all in on these beers, probably best not to do them at all, But, at the end of the day, it's a perfectly fine beer. It kind of is what it is at the price point, It's nothing too offensive. It's just, if you're out there trying to pick this up thinking that you're going to get a shelf New England style IPA, move on. Sorry about that. So as for a rating for Sierra Nevada's Hazy Little IPA, or excuse me, Hazy Little Thing IPA, in my heart, I want to give it a 3.25, right? But that's probably a little unfair, because there's honestly nothing wrong with the beer, right? It is drinkable. It's fine. It tastes okay. So with that said, let's go ahead and give it a 3.5, right? In my kind of the way that I look at the overall rating system is 3.5 is, an average beer. Nothing wrong with it, not offensive. You can go ahead if you have no other additional options, perfectly fine for you to purchase. So with that said, Craftavore Tastes, Sierra Nevada, Hazy Little Thing IPA, 3.5 caps. All right, so that's the end of this review. Hope you come back to the channel to watch more reviews and continue on my pathway as I drink, I review, I rate, and I repeat. Cheers.